So Continental GT 650 exhausts. What do I think about upgrading it? What would I recommend for upgrading it? All that kind of good stuff. Stick around a few minutes, we're going to talk about it. What's up everyone? It's Alex. So today's video comes from a viewer question from Brett, and Brett said, "Thanks for the video, no problem Brett. I would also like your thoughts on the exhaust system, muffler change, which one would you recommend, the DNA air filter exchange, booster plug added as well." So here's my thoughts on the Royal Enfield 650 exhaust systems, okay? I have dealt with Royal Enfields that had exhausts changed out. As of right now, mine is still stock, and I'm going to tell you my thoughts on that. Real quick while I'm thinking about it, if you like the video, if you're new here, like, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff, because it tells me you guys like this kind of content, so I can keep making that for you guys. So the exhaust on my Royal Enfield Continental GT 650, as of right now, is still stock. I'm going to tell you why, and I'm going to make some recommendations. So I've left mine stock up until this point, because generally when I get a new motorcycle, I do like to put an exhaust on it, usually not necessarily for performance reasons, but just so I get that nice, makes you feel happy on the inside, rumbly exhaust note when I'm riding. Most motorcycles at this point put out enough performance stock that I don't really need the extra few horsepower you're gonna get from changing the exhaust. It's mostly just an enjoyment of the ride thing for me, because I really do enjoy the exhaust note of a nice, rumbly exhaust system. That being said, I don't like to do that while being ear-splittingly crazy loud. But what I've come to realize and what I've come to do is I like keeping the exhaust on my motorcycles stock through the first couple of services, and here's why. I like to let the motorcycle break in really, really nicely in the stock configuration as intended and as engineered by the factory and by the engineers that designed the motorcycle, because I figure when it comes to motorcycle engineering, they're probably a lot smarter than I am, and they probably intended it to run this way. So I like to let my motorcycle break in, not just for the initial break-in service, but the first couple of services before I go changing exhausts out. I used to swap exhausts out right when I bought motorcycles, and I didn't often have issues, but occasionally I would have issues with fuel tuning, with bikes running, especially too lean. Usually it wasn't going to be too rich, it was usually going to be a little bit too lean. So I've come to where I let my bike go through the first couple of services, and then after that, if I want to change the exhaust out, I will do it at that point. So I've just finished doing the second service on my motorcycle, as I did on video recently. So if I'm going to change my exhaust pipe out, I will do so sometime in the near future when I can afford it and when it makes sense. But as for right now, I am riding mine stock. I have stock exhaust, stock air cleaner, all that kind of good stuff, and I've been enjoying the absolute crap out of it. Because also, honestly, and I'm sure I'm going to catch some crap in the comments for this, but honestly, I also listen to music a lot when I ride. A lot of times when I'm riding around, I do have earbuds in and I am listening to music at a reasonable volume so I can still hear traffic, but I do listen to music when I ride, so those of you that think that that's a cardinal sin, just go ahead and slaughter me in the comments. I'm ready. Now, if I were going to do an exhaust system for my motorcycle, here's what I personally would do, okay? The ones that I have seen done before and the ones that people seem to really like and have really, really good success with without having fuel tuning issues, etc., are going to be the pipes that S&S makes specifically for the Royal Enfield 650s. It seems like they did a really good job in the R&D department and everything working with Enfield or working with the 650. So the S&S slip-on exhausts that are made for the Enfield 650 twins seem to be a really, really good option so far. When I was still working for the dealer, we sold Royal Enfields. We got a couple sets of them that we went ahead and put on bikes there at the shops. They sounded really, really nice for the money. They looked very nice. They had the same kind of like a bullet can styling on it, but a little bit smaller, a little bit more sleek. And they seem to do very, very well without requiring a fuel tune or anything like that. So if I were going to do an exhaust on my motorcycle, what I would do would be the S&S slip-ons. I would not do a full system. I don't need to squeeze the extra few horsepower out for a full system, and I don't feel like dealing with fuel tuning or anything like that, which usually you're going to have to do if you do a full system. Do a full exhaust, you're usually going to have to do some fuel mapping, etc. So I would probably do the S&S slip-ons for this machine. I think they retail somewhere around 600 bucks or something, so they're not that unreasonable. They're not super expensive, not the cheapest thing I've seen, but usually with exhaust, if you get a 200 or 300 exhaust system, you get what you pay for there. So I think they retail somewhere around 600 bucks, and they're not difficult at all to install. I did it myself in just a few minutes on the last one I did. So that's what I would go with. And yes, if I were going to do that, I probably would also do the recommended high-flow air filter that S&S themselves recommends doing with doing that exhaust. I think those two in combination with each other would be a really, really nice setup, would give me more exhaust tone, all that kind of stuff that I'm looking for, without having to redo any fuel mapping or anything on the bike. Now, also, if I did that, after I did that for the next couple of weeks, I would keep a good eye on my spark plugs, etc., to make sure that I didn't have fuel mapping issues. Like every couple of rides, I'd probably pull a plug and just have a look at it to make sure I'm not running too rich or too lean, or anything that would require me to go have the bike remapped for my fuel mapping. So if you're going to change your exhaust, I do highly recommend keeping an eye on your spark plugs, etc. for a few weeks afterwards, just to make sure your fuel ratio is keeping up and is still working as intended. But that's what I would do. As far as doing the plug, I don't have any experience with doing the plug, and I hate to recommend or not recommend things I have no experience with, Brett. So I don't personally know or have no experience dealing with that plug. I would just do the exhaust and the air cleaner. I don't think I would mess with the plug because I don't have any experience messing with it. Those exhaust cans do have removable baffles in them that I have taken out, and they do sound much, much, much better with the baffles out. So I personally would probably take the baffles out of them. But that's what I would do. The S&S slip-ons, probably would take the baffles out, and I would do the high-flow air filter for it if I did the S&S pipes. Brett, I hope that helps, but that's what I would do if I'm going to do an exhaust change. As always, guys, have a great day. Ride safe. I'm Alex. Peace.